book on strategic environmental assessment, curricula, and problem-based learning. So welcome, Professor Margarida.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it is a pleasure to be here with all of you. So my name is Margarida, like Isabella mentioned. I just want to mention that in the last 4 to 5 years, I've been engaged also in an Erasmus Plus project with the aim of developing courses, full courses, on strategic environmental assessment. That was the content specifically, but with a problem-based learning approach. So can I share the screen? Is it okay?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
You have the permission, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Let me just put this. Okay. Okay, I think you're seeing the full screen, right? Can you confirm it just? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So I was challenged to do this introduction on problem-based learning with the purpose of the training session that will happen in Lisbon in July. And I just want to first, for all of us to have a more or less an understanding on what is a problem when we speak of problem-based learning. What is this idea of a problem that it is important to explore. I will just do a very, very brief introduction to PBL, not to take all the fun that we're going to do in July. So just very short on this, some illustrations from my experience, also for you to take home and reflect a bit on that, and an overall idea of the training session in Lisbon. So, but before we start, let me say that I'm using this hour to decide a bit and to start designing what is the training session for us to have in July. So for that purpose, if you go to the chat, you'll see a link that shared. It is a Jamboard. I don't know if you are familiar with the Jamboard. If not, it is a collaborative way. I will share the screen for us all together to see the Jamboard. It is a collaborative way for us to collect information. And my first question is if you could write down some challenges, some issues that you're having with teaching or managing curricula, developing curricula, managing management situations in your own university. So my suggestion is to go to these sticky notes. I don't know if you can see the course of the mouth. These sticky notes, it opens a window that is yellow, I believe, and just write it down, a challenge. I can start writing a challenge that I have every time with my students. That is the mentality to learn within the classroom. So, and this is my own. And if I could ask you in the next 2 minutes to just add challenges that you're having within your classroom, as I mentioned, developing curricula, managing administrative situations in your university, it will be wonderful, because this will be a first basis also for us to have a more focused training session in July. After the 2 minutes, I will go back to the presentation. Okay. if you also want to share these challenges in the chat, please feel free, and after I can add it to the Jamboard. Okay, so we're having issues in terms of the motivation of the students to learn. This idea of the distance learning also. What constitutes a problem that could be explored within the learning environment? This relationship between university, academia, and the market, and the private sector. The attention of the students that is somehow related also with motivation, sometimes the very individual postures of the students that are reflecting on their own profit and not willing, as it is here, to think in a group. Maybe the dependency also, it's here, the dependency of students from us, teachers. So this is open. Please continue to write it down. You can, completely okay. I just want to go back to the presentations. So the idea here of this brief exercise is for us to identify from the group perspective, what are the situations in terms of teaching, in terms of our academic work as professional teachers within the classroom, but not only that, also how to make the connection between what we're doing here with the outside world, because sometimes academia is closed in itself and everyone maximizes its learning with these external connections that we can have with the private sector and even with the third sector, with other universities and associations. So, so this is what I asked you. The idea here is to use your challenges to make this, to setting the themes, the main themes for us to approach in the training session in July. But as I mentioned to you before, sometimes, at least that was my problem the first time that I started to work with problem-based learning is, but what is the problem? How can we define what could be a better problem than other one when discussing and when adopting this approach of PBL in our classrooms? And we can talk about problems in separate ways. We can look it from a systemic view to try to understand all the dimensions around the problem itself. But let's be honest, that sometimes it's quite complicated for us that we have the training already to do so. Imagine do that for students. So sometimes we break down the problems exactly to allow students to understand the real situation and the real challenge, the societal challenge that we want to explore with them. When discussing problem itself, we can talk about problem in several ways. It could be an anomaly, something that somehow deviates from what it is called the rule or the usual in our own contexts. We can talk it as a paradox, meaning that there are facts that are contrasting, and we need to understand exactly why they are contrasting if they are the same set of sets. The contrast itself constitutes what we could call a problem, because there's a tension in the contracts. There's a tension between at least two conditions that is desired, one that is desired and the other one that is the real and the actual conditions that we are facing, and contradictions. Sometimes a simultaneous statement or relationship can be mutually exclusive. So this idea of the problem, exploring the problem, is maybe the first challenging in adopting and try to approach PBL within a classroom. So, but why is this relevant? Why to hold on to PBL? So it is stated, and I will provide you some readings in the end that you could explore furthermore before the training session in July. It is proved that providing the students responsibility and making space for them to actively participate in the classrooms and in the design in the classroom, it is proven that they learn more with that. Also, they learn how to do problem solving instead of, at least for example, in IST here in my university, it is an engineering school and it is pretty much solutions oriented. So students are trained and to work towards solutions, but are their solutions fit to the problem they are trying to culminate? Sometimes not. So that is one aspect also of this active participation and the construction of knowledge to understand what constitutes a problem and a real life problem. It also supports the development of students' communications and collaboration skills. So one of the aspects, the challenges that one of you added to the Jamboard was this work in groups. I'm facing that exact same situation in the 12 years that I'm teaching in here. And every time there is situations of students that do not work well in groups. So this learning also supports the development of those skills within the students, but also to work towards results, meaning, so there's a challenge and they have to solve that specific challenge, and to also take a more analytic approach to their work. It provides tools for independent self-learning, and also towards a more advanced academic level. So this means that the students are provided the opportunity to cooperate also with those external partners on solving specific problems, meaning that they are not confined to the academic field, but they are more open also to engage and to have proper language to understand how the real world functions, and to incorporate that in their learning process. Oh, sorry. So the difference between these, the traditional learning and problem-based learning is the starting point. So while on traditional learning, students are told normally what they need to know. So we have a syllabus, we develop the syllabus with specific and concrete content. We provide the classes, so we are the providers and the students are the recipients. They have the task to memorize the content, and then a problem is assigned to them for them to illustrate it, how it happens in practice. In problem-based learning, that's the entry point is the problem, the identification of the problem, and to develop in students proper tools, proper skills for them to be able to identify the problem and characterize the problem. That will say to them what they need to know. So if a student, I will provide you some examples in a bit, but if we are in a class of territorial management, for example, and the students find out there's a huge problem in Lisbon in terms of housing, so that is the problem they want to approach. After that, they have the responsibility to self-learn and to further explore what the problem. And they say to us, okay, I need to know in terms of the housing policies, how the housing development could affect territorial management, how the housing development also could affect organizational relationship between the different decision makers. So, and then us teachers, we know what they need to address and try to approach that specific problem and develop a solution for it. So this is two different approaches. Problems, yes, it is normal in both of them, but one is the end result, and in problem-based learning, it's the input for the approach itself. Every time if you have a question, please interrupt me. Let's put yourself at completely okay to just interrupt me. So an example of a PBL process within a classroom is we have a problem, let's analyze the problem, solve the problem, and report our process of learning, our process of problem solving. But that implies a lot of work that needs to be done, needs to be thought to support students on that. Yes, they have the responsibility of collecting several types of information that are fit to purpose to their own problem, but there are some support as has tutorials, has identification of possible readings that could address the students' problems that they are exploring, lectures, group studies, field work, experiments, tutorials. So there's a bunch of techniques and actions that we could adopt in our classrooms to support this learning process from the students, for them to explore in a very robust way the problem they are doing and provide a solution that is supported by data and is properly justified by the problem that exists in a specific context. So we are talking about an approach that normally addresses open problems, problems that exist, that are ongoing, that are happening in real life contexts. It could be from the public domain, it could be from private sector, from specific companies, and it is an approach that is students directed. So the students are the guides of how are we going to approach that specific content in the classroom. So it assumes that the students learn best applying the theory itself and researching based on the knowledge that they are collecting and they are identifying as relevant to address the problem they initially identified. So it resumes to, at the first hand, defining the problem, going deeper into understanding what are we exploring. So it could be unsatisfying situations, it could be improvements that is needed, for example, in a specific industry. It could be a situation that is happening with new policies.
Excuse me,
Yep.
Margarida.
Yes,
Sorry,
please.
sorry to interrupt.
Yes, of course.
Okay, you've just showed that
This
the
one.
problem could be student directed or teacher directed.
Yes, this is the idea of the, yes, sorry.
Yeah, from your own experience, which is more effective, or to offer or to have actually a deep learning from the student's part, to let the student choose the problem and work on it, or the lecturer would assign or find certain problems and assign students to do it. Thank you.
Yeah. From my own experience, it's more effective the students to identify the problem. Sometimes, for example, in some courses, we teachers identify a broad challenge. For example, I will show you an example if I have the time. If not, I will show you in July. But there's a situation of the food system in Lisbon. We want to have a more local production and consumption, not having the distribution activity between production and consumption, and to link directly the producer with the consumer. So that's a strategy that we want to apply in the Lisbon metropolitan area. But that's a challenge because that is not how the things are normally done. We have the big distribution companies, the big supermarkets that somehow also dictates how the food system functions within the Lisbon metropolitan area. So that's a challenge. But that challenge implies a lot of small problems. We can talk about production capacity, quality of the soils, the land use systems that is predicted. We can talk about the consumer's profile, the role of the distribution sector within. So we have a lot of small problems, small situations that altogether could help to further improve or at least to orient the food system has intended. So in this specific course, we provided the students the challenge. Okay, we want to have a sustainable food system in the Lisbon metropolitan area. How can we do it? And the students by itself, they identify those small problems that are relevant to be considered and to be addressed. By the end of their group work, because this was made in groups, by the end of the group work, we provide them the space for them together to understand what are the challenges of all of those different solutions that they found out. And they identify further problems that were needed to be solved. So from my point of view, it's more students directed with real life problems, with the identification of problems, because there's a thing that I normally see. It's that if they choose a problem that they really feel something about it, they have any sorts of emotion, positive or negative emotion around that specific problem, they are more open to learn about it. They are more open also to be engaged in specific teaching activities and classroom activities to further explore it because they have a specific interest and personal interest around it. I don't know if I addressed your question, but that's my experience. Yeah.
Thank you. Hope we'll talk about it in
Yeah.
in July.
Yeah, I really
Thank you.
hope that. Yeah, I really hope
Thank
that.
you.
So, and based on, for example, the example that I provided, we have problems that could be identified by experiences, by our own experiences, meaning curiosity could be positive or negative experience that we had around it. Also interest, our personal interest, it's pretty much related with it. And also some inquiries from the outside. This is quite relevant. Instead of us teachers or us academia saying that this is a problem specifically for that specific context, why not bring the business, the municipalities, other public and private organizations to us and for them to say to us, okay, I have this issue. Can you help me with it? And we engage the students in supporting those specific needs from the outside world, from the academia. But it also could be from an expert assessment, also research group, us teachers based on our experience, yes. Here, the idea is, okay, if we have this team, let's use the 5 whys. It is a wonderful approach to address the problem. Let's use the 5 whys to understand what does this mean? What does this specific problem means? The what, let's conceptualize the problem. What does this problem is specifically? Why? It provides relevancy to it. Obviously, every time in a specific context, because each problem is context specific. Who are the ones related with it? The stakeholders. Where are we placing it? Our context, our place, the sites, and when. This is the state of the art. Then we'll decide it, okay, so we can address this problem with this because we already have the knowledge to do it with this specific approach or with this specific strategy. We are going deeper with this also in July, looking into specific examples and developing specific exercises. I just wanted to leave with you with the basic characteristics of a problem-based learning. We're talking about real-life problems. This is a constructivist approach. What does this mean? It's interdisciplinary, it's transdisciplinary. It is not within a closed boundary of a knowledge domain. So a problem embraces and needs to, for its problem solving strategy, to have a very broad collection of knowledge. There's always this interaction between theory and practice for us to test also what theory is mentioning. Also implies self-directive leadership. To be honest, the students normally are the leaders. We manage the classroom, but they are the leaders of their own learning and ongoing reflections. It is an approach that supports students and even makes students to go on ongoing reflections based on their work and to be critical of their own work. Sometimes I miss that, to be honest. The critical analysis, the critical posture of students to, in a positive way, to criticize their own work and to criticize their own solutions and to see if they are feasible or not to the real context they are proposing that to them. It is pretty much in terms of orientation. It explores the experience. One thing that is the PBL approach, it's pretty much focused on is to try to change a bit the experience of students in learning, and this way changing a bit the posture of students in terms of learning, instead of them being only focused on the final grade, being the best of the bests, but also to have that, okay, I'm learning, I like to learn, let's do this. And I'm the leader of my own learning process. And this is effective in which ways? So promotes deep approaches of learning to students. So their active engagement and participation in the exploration of the problem, in the collection of data, in trying to understand the meaning of that data, and with that developing their own solution, it's more effective than the surface approaches, that traditional approaches of a classroom that we are just reading and saying something in theory to expect them to incorporate that without concrete, tangible experience in their learning. It promotes active learning and develops this sense of criticality, being critical in terms of their own proposals and the proposals of the others. It improves the self-directed learning capability. So in the end, there is already a sense of the students understanding the pathways that they should have to promote that learning and to achieve the challenge that they made themselves to solve it. It is interdisciplinary, as I mentioned before. It develops managing skills because it's pretty much around time management also, group management, team management, in terms of collaboration and communication skills. Also develops their own professional identity because that situation of the students identifying the problem sometimes is pretty much related with their own expectations for their professional work in the future, and it puts them the responsibility of learning. So it also develops these responsibilities, this sense of responsibility and accountability to their own learning. And it improves the meaningfulness of learning. Let's put again how important is to learn, and not to have to be like something that we have to do to just finish the course and finish the learnings. I don't know if anyone wants to ask something. I will just briefly pass it through some examples from my classrooms. Yep. Okay. So some illustrations from my own experience. In all the classes that I'm involved, in all the courses that I'm involved, we adopt a problem-based learning approach with different depths, because we have to adapt it also to the level of students. It's different for students on a bachelor degree, on a master thesis, on a master's degree, or on even a doctoral degree. According to the content of the course, the theme of the course by itself, it's also important to try to mold the curricula and the methods to be used. So and this comes from an experience of trying to develop new methods to engage in my classes. Some were very successful, the other ones not so much. So by time we have to adjust and adapt and try to see where are those points of changes that we have to do according to the students that we are having. So we, as I mentioned to you before, we support the development of curriculums, full curriculums for a course in some universities in the past, and we are now also involved in another Erasmus to develop a master's degree, a joint master's degree, pretty much based also on problem-based learning in its idealization and in the way we want to develop the specific courses around it. So I mentioned already this example to you, the idea of the food systems. This was for a course, a master course on environmental engineering. The course is of environmental and territorial policies and management. So the idea was to explore the food systems and some activities that we made with them, besides the fact that there's the need to explore the territorial components and how to do it. So we suggest them to start with exploring the idea of the ecosystem services, to start with what they are more familiar with, these physical analysis, using modular schemes, using geographic information schemes. So they are engineering students, so we had to adjust it. And we provide them the challenge, start by looking into ecosystem services. And with that, they identified problems in terms of the functioning of a specific ecosystem, in terms of providing the provision of those and the quality and availability of those ecosystem services. And with that, they developed patterns and to develop a business model to value what is there in place and to further promote this idea of the rural-urban synergies in the Lisbon metropolitan area. We adopted several types of techniques. We had field trips. All the course was around flipped classes, several presentations from the students. Every time you see a presentation written, it's from the students. The students did the presentations by themselves to explore and to share with the other students, with the entire class, what were the reality of the different ecosystem services for everyone to understand the systemic view of the Lisbon metropolitan area in terms of its food system. And we had guest lectures. We had the companies. We had specific agriculture companies, we have distribution companies, we have supermarkets, and we have big businesses, and we also have researchers and decision makers coming to classes and providing an overview from their own perspective of the food system in the Lisbon metropolitan area. Another course, and this course is for the bachelor degree. I'm sorry to be in Portuguese. I didn't have the time to do the translation. This is for the course of social sciences and environment. And how we decided approach this specific course in terms of we provide very general topics on the relationship between social sciences, social systems and environmental systems, like globalization, modernization, risks, innovation, etc. And what they had to do is to identify a specific news in newspapers and journals, physical journals or online journals, from examples of real life problems. For example, lithium exploration, water scarcity, the issues of cultural natural heritage, challenges of food consumption in Portugal, or fast fashion, or the idea of traffic in the cities. So several types of energy production, several types of examples that were reported in the news, in the Portuguese news. They had to choose those and to explore them by their own. The idea was you explore them. You say to us if you need any support on a specific subject, but you are the owners of your own group and you report them as you want. They made it surveys, they made it interviews. The students also developed workshops and developed questionnaires. It was pretty much around the idea of students engaging in a critical analysis. We also had guest lectures focusing on specific themes that were a little bit more problematic because they were more new in nature. And we had also the presentations of the students, for the students, and also for us in an assessment period. That this is pretty much in terms the same. The difference in terms of this course of the participatory design is that we made a lot of simulations. We simulate with the students specific workshops for them to explore and how to design from a participatory perspective specific products that would address real life problems. From some ticket systems for the transportations, for benches in a garden, situations to support the planners to develop their own planning processes, specific products, medical products. So the students choose based on their expectations and what they want to learn. They choose the problem they want to address, situations they want to address, and they just design it and simulate it like they were the consultants that had this situation of developing a solution for a specific contract scheme. And this specific course of the city management challenges and conflicts, it has two specific specificities in it. It doesn't have theory. I don't do presentations at all. From 1 week to another, they have some readings to do around conflicts in the city and how to manage and analyze conflicts in a city. And it's pretty much in terms of flipped class approach. And the idea, every classes, they do an exercise where I ask them to do some role playing. So they can be taxi drivers, they could be consultants, they could be orange producers, they could be a lot of things based on the exercise. And how do they report it? They have to, in a weekly basis, to develop their own individual diary, where the only thing that I ask them is to reflect upon the exercise they've done in class. So this is a bit different in the way of managing, because this is for this class is offered to the entire IST. So I have at least 12 to 13 different bachelor degrees, engineering specifics, in the room, it is around 100 students. So yes, I have to read in the end 100 individual diaries. It's a challenge, but it provided very effective, because for them to justify some reflections, they have to go back to their own work, to self-work, and to further explore that from concrete examples that are happening in the city and that are the cause of conflicts within a city and a urban environment. Okay, so because of time, I will share with you only the last example. This last example is a course also for the bachelor's that exists for other courses also, but for the bachelor's degree on environmental engineering, it is called Project for Knowledge Integration. It is quite new in IST. And this year it was designed in terms of for students of the third year of the bachelor's degree to go and to be engaged with industries. So we have several industries saying to us that they had problems related to the environmental management of their own work. They had problems, and what we're doing is, into a course of a semester, students try to understand the problems for that specific industry and try to provide some solutions for it. It is the first time, at least for these students of environmental engineering, that they are directly engaged with an industry. And it's quite a challenge for them also, because it is a world that they do not know. And this is the first time they are really working together with the industry sector to try to develop solutions for them. Wait, sorry. This example of this picture is a group of students that are working in a chemical industry that produces inks for the naval sector. And this industry had an issue that they wanted support on to explore in terms of wastewater treatment. And the students engage themselves in looking into the supporting the collection of data, understanding what it takes to manage the water treatment within the industry, and trying to provide the solution. The idea in this specific course is for the students to engage to develop the solution with knowledge that they obtained from previous courses in their environmental engineering bachelor's degree. So at least they have to justify the project around 3 to 4 different courses. So these are some examples from my side. I don't know if you have any specific question that you want to address before moving forward. If you want, yeah, we still have the time, more or less. And I just wanted to do another question to you. And after that, from my side, you're free. Yes, please. Nuha. I think you're muted.
Can
Yeah.
you share, my name is Nuha
Hi.
from Palestinian Technical University, Khartoum. Can you share the slide where is the Miro board?
Oh, yes. Let me do it again, already in there. Okay.
Only I want to understand Miro is acronym for what?
Oh, okay. This is one technique that I want to use with you. The Miro is an online tool that can be used for project management, can be used for presentations. It's like a whiteboard where
Yeah.
students can develop their own work.
It's a technical Miro, yeah. I
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
yeah, I know it as a Slido Miro and
Yes,
H5P
what
lessons, yeah.
we
The
do
same.
here with them, instead of having a report, because we are trying to also to experience with them, no, to make them experience other types of reporting, instead of doing a report of their group work, a normal report with a cover and an index and etc., to try to share and map their process of learning, the project in a Miro, in a mind map. And this is the basis for their presentations and for the final presentation, and the reporting is
Yes,
just
we
the Miro.
will add it. We will add it as a tool.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think it another thing. We will add it as a tool here in our project also as a tool for the Moodle also the same. Thank you for this question. Another
Yeah,
thing,
it's okay.
sometimes you cannot find real problems or from the real life. But in order to make my lesson success and to make my lecture success, I need to problematize or to make the problem, to create the problem.
I understand.
It is very beautiful, I know, and if you have experience, you can. But my student teachers, because I problemized for them all lessons, when they want to go to school, they become teachers, because I am the teacher for previous teachers, prepare teacher before pre-service, not in service. When they go, they asked me always how we can problemize, making problems for their lessons. Then, maybe there is a technique, there is a training we had to give it to the students, to the teachers or student teachers in order to make problems, because sometimes some lessons not have real life problems.
Yes, yes, I completely understand. For several years, I would do the problematize. I decided the problem, designed the problem, provided it
Yes,
to the students. However, in IST, I don't know if my colleagues already shared this with you. We changed it a bit, our methodological and pedagogical model, that it was asked us to explore and have a more problem-based perspective, propose those to the students and engage on that approach within our classes. What we decided to do is to let the students do that by themselves. Obviously, if it is 1 year, 2 years from the bachelor degree students, they really need our support. If they are students from the master's level, it is different. They do not need our support. They need our guidance. It's a bit different. We have concrete methods with questions for the students to address them, and in the end, after doing that, we normally say to them, okay, so you now have a problem. You understood the problem. You characterize the problem. And after that, let's engage in providing a solution for it. In one of the documents that I will share with you in the end, for you to read and explore and reflect upon, there are several techniques within it to identify problems, characterize problems, for us, because it can be used by us professors or by the students, obviously a little bit adapt the level of difficulty. Yeah.
Thank
But
you,
we have
Margarida.
that, yeah.
Thank you.
And we can explore the problem itself in July.
Thank you, Margarita.
You're welcome, yeah.
Dolores, maybe.
Yes.
Dolores.
Yeah, thank you, Margarita, for your presentation. I'm Dolores from
Hello, nice to meet you.
the German part of the partnership. We have been discussing these 3 days the complexity of working with industry, the willingness to find companies, and what can we offer to the companies to win them. So here's my question to you, as I see that you do problem-based with the companies. How ready are the Portuguese companies to cooperate, and give us a little bit some tricks of what do you offer to them to participate with you, that maybe we can take it also for all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It is not quite easy to do the connection. Sometimes we have to rely upon our personal context and professional context to develop. What we normally say is that at the European level, the Commission is pretty much engaged and in this connection of the academia and the industry. So that all of the idea of the responsible research and innovation to make this integration between the third sector and the private sector is pretty strong at the Commission. And now, at least in Portugal, that connection and that relationship is it's pretty acknowledged by the industry sector. So that is an added value, and that supports us also on that. We normally say that we know, and we fully recognize that the level of work is not the same of a professional, but what we provide is small solutions for small problems. So if a specific industry is saying that they have a situation in their product value chain, specific one, very small one, because we cannot address the entire societal challenges. We can address specific problems, very, very small ones from an industry. And we say, okay, we have students from a very recognized university in Portugal that can address those problems for you. They can provide and try to understand the different components of those problems and provide ideas of solutions that you can incorporate in your own daily work. And there's another thing now it's recent, but it at least from our side, it has a strong effort in the companies. It is the corporate social responsibility. Putting that idea and recognizing that us university are aware and are available to work with them towards the social responsibility of the industry. It is very important, at least for them to know that we recognize that, and we are willingness to support and to embrace a journey with them, even if it is an academic exercise. I think it is quite effective in the way of trying to call companies to talk with us and say to us, it's not only companies, also the public sector, municipalities, administration. Sometimes we find it easier to engage decision makers than the private companies, to be honest.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for
thank
the
you.
tips.
Thank you so much.